All right, so I'm 100 Ks in, about 3.5 hours. It's -5 degrees. All the blood has gone from my fingers. All the blood's gone from my toes. I'm pretty bloody cold right now, and I've got 120 kilometers to do. Good morning and welcome to episode 1 of Tristan Take Video. So, before I launch into today's video, I thought I'd take a moment to recap on 2020. What did I do? What did I do? Bloody hell, January feels like a long time ago. So, January I was in Australia and I was on a boat called Paru, and I was sailing around the Great Barrier Reef, and we were doing plenty of swimming with fish, saw a few sharks, generally sitting and enjoying the view because there's not a huge amount out there. I then flew from Far North Queensland back down to Sydney, did a little bit more riding, caught up with a few more friends, then I jumped on a plane and I went back to Girona. Got back on the bike and I started training again, looking forward to the first races of the year. First race of the year, happened to win that race, which was pretty incredible. The second race of the year was in Sabadell. I ended up coming away with a podium, which was a really nice little surprise. So then, as everyone knows, we went into lockdown. It was mid-March. What can you say that hasn't already been said? What did I get up to in lockdown? I did a lot of baking, a lot of Zoom chats, a lot of drinking, a lot more drinking, and I did some more baking, and I rode Zwift a lot. I worked for the service course on the bits and pieces that I could work on. While I couldn't do any outdoor photography, I could do some studio photography. I did more drinking. Probably drank the most I've ever drank in my life, actually. Trying to Zwift after that was not the greatest. What else do you do when you're stuck inside a small apartment? In April, I got a piano, I got a keyboard, and I started trying to learn the keyboard, which I've always wanted to do, but wasn't very successful with. The 11th of April, I got a keyboard a couple of days ago, and I'm learning to play it. This is the first time I've ever recorded myself playing a piano. Absolutely terrible, so I'm just gonna play what I can play right now, which is a C major scale. And it's about as good as I am right now. And then eventually, at the start of May, we were allowed back outside. My first ride outside was the 2nd of May, and that was probably one of the highlights of the year. The feeling of taking the bike off the trainer, rolling out the door, pressing start for the first time on the Wahoo in 7 weeks. It was a pretty special experience, really. As much as lockdown sucked, distance makes the heart grow fonder, and it was quite a surreal moment. Rolling up Els Angeles for that first morning in the sunshine and seeing the colours. The seasons had changed from like winter when we went into lockdown right through to complete spring when we came out. So it was amazing to just roll outside and see the colours and look around and take my glasses off and appreciate being alive, really. Being a part of a sport that takes me to some amazing places and really puts me in the outdoors and really sort of sets me amongst beautiful scenery. In June, got into some gravel riding. I did a big long overnight ride on the shortest day of the year. We started at 5 p.m, we rode into the dark, and then we kept riding through the dark without sleep, watched the sunrise, basically all a big loop and around back to Girona, so 350 Ks, that was overnight. That was in June, that was amazing as well. Then July, I did the Pyrenees trip with Ben O'Connor. We rode through the Pyrenees by ourselves. Ben planned a route. It was 5 days. It was 1,000 Ks, over 20,000 meters climbing. We were doing 200 kilometer days and anywhere between 4,000 and 5,000 meters of climbing through some of the most amazing terrain that you can imagine. Pyrenees are an absolute dream place to ride. I didn't take a big camera. I just took my phone. I took a lot of photos. We just looked around and chatted and just rode. So in August, I then moved into my new apartment. I didn't even walk into the apartment. The real estate agent took me up to the rooftop and he was like, do you want to see the rooftop before we go into the apartment? And I was like, yeah, show me the rooftop. And when I stepped out there, I was like, you know what? I'm taking this place. This is what I want. This is what I've always wanted in Girona. I want a view of the town. that I love, and so I got there. So we've had plenty of really nice sunsets up there, plenty of drinks on the rooftop since it was the end of summer, so it was a beautiful way to end summer. And yeah, I feel very lucky to have found that place. Then in September, Tour de France with the service course. Met a couple of riders, met Nico Roche and Romain Bardet. Did some interviews with them for the service course just before they started the tour, which was awesome. So we came back from Nice, and a short time later we went to the Pyrenees with Christian Meyer and Swain Tuft, and also Matt Tomlinson, who is the videographer for the service course, and also Peter Gaskell, who is a guide and a representative for the service course, and one of my oldest Girona friends and an absolute legend. So we all went up there. Christian and Swain Tuft did this ride through the Pyrenees for 3 days on the gravel bikes, and Matt Tomlinson and I filmed it and photographed it and documented. Then we rolled into October. Now, October, I have teamed up with a team called Equipo Leca. It's a bunch of really passionate guys, and we went down to do a race called the Vuelta al Murcia. I actually had a crash. I finished the race. I didn't go as well as I wanted to go, and then came home and was pretty banged up, so I decided to have a bit of an off season. The other big news of October was Ben, the Giro stage win. That was a pretty cool moment to watch. I was at Ben and Sarah's house, and we were watching on the computer and yelling at the computer.
Yes, Ben! Yes! Yes!
And so he came back from that a few days later, and we celebrated on the rooftop. Had a pretty cool off season, which was good. November, my new gravel bike arrived from Kiko Bele in Barcelona. Kiko is someone who I'm now lucky enough to call a friend. He's such a good dude. He's an amazing frame builder. My new gravel frame that he'd been working on for literally a majority of this year, that was eventually done. And it's an incredible looking frame, and you'll definitely see more of that on the channel. So yeah, I'm really, really happy with how the bike all came together in the end. It's a stunning, stunning piece of art, and more importantly, it rides like an absolute weapon. I also did go out for a ride with Ben after he was back on the bike after a few weeks off. One of the first rides we did was a mountain bike ride, and Ben had a bit of a crash and broke his collarbone, so that was really shit. And yeah, it's part of bike riding. It was really unfortunate, and it was a pretty bad break, so Ben's now had about 6 weeks off the bike. Then December, wrapped up work, then rode straight up to Andorra. So I've been up here for the last couple of weeks. Been doing quite a bit of riding in the snow. A little bit of photography. I photographed Ben and Sarah, who got engaged, which was cool to see. For Christmas, we stayed at a lodge in the mountains, and we stayed in a blizzard. All right, so it's Christmas Day, and as you can see, I'm hanging out in the snow. So stayed out there, very, very snowy, but beautiful. The views were insane. Once we woke up on Boxing Day, the views when you looked out the window were just ridiculous, like the kind of stuff that you see in magazines and brochures. And again, I say it a lot, I feel very lucky to be living this life where I get to see these things, and I get to do these things, and I get to have my friends organize these things, because I'm terrible at logistics. So to have people I know organize these things makes me feel like I'm really a part of a good community and a good group of people, and it really contributes to how well I enjoy my life. Yeah, so for any of the guys who were there who are watching, thanks so much for organizing it, and I had a great time. Then we came back, did the first ride back outside with Ben after 6 weeks off, and we've had some really, really good rides since. We did a nice ride the other day down into Catalunya, into the north of Catalunya, explored some climbs that I haven't done before. I mean, if you haven't ridden in this part of the world, it's worth coming to at some point once travel's open back up, because it's just a great place to explore. It's a very outdoorsy place, Andorra, and somewhere that now I've been coming to for the last 4 years. And that brings us up to today. So riding from Andorra back to Girona, and that's where we'll pick it up. So I'll see you in a moment. Getting frothing, stoked. Ben's gonna join me for the first little while of the ride back to Girona.
50 Ks?
50 Ks in. Fair enough.
Until the sun comes out.
It's still pretty dark out there. New kit day for Benny. See you back in Girona. Just said bye to Ben.
Crossed over into Catalunya. On we go. Jacket going in the bag. So the nice thing about taking the jacket off, even though it's bloody cold, my Wahoo is still saying -4 degrees. It's actually a little bit nicer to ride with. You just move through the air a little bit quicker. It's a bit more comfortable, I find. Obviously warmth is important, but speed is equally as important. Back to it. Saying -5 now. She is not warm, that is for sure. I'm on a slight uphill drag and I've got a headwind. Today might actually end up being a bit longer than I expected. Food with a view. Headwind here, and I'm going straight into it. So we're just turning on to the first big climb of the day. This is the coldest. This is an absolute beast of a climb. I mean, maybe that's a bit of an exaggeration. It's long. It's 22 k's long. It's got a bit of flat, sort of in the middle, or at least like not as steep. It's about an hour and a bit of climbing, probably, wearing all this stuff and in this temperature. So I'll crack on and see if I can get over this one. Alright, so just over 3 hours in, about to crack 90 k's. The temperature is still -3. It got to 0 at one point and I was frothing, and now we're back to -3. But it's beautiful up here. Here's another little hint for you. When you only wear toe caps and it's -degrees for 3 hours plus, all the blood leaves your feet, and so you can't feel your toes anymore, and there's no pain. Ew. Coming up to the top of the coldest. The Wahoo is saying -4 degrees. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do the quickest jacket donning I've ever done in my life, and I'm gonna start descending. My toes are proper cold now. The rest of my body's fine. Toes are just bloody freezing. Climb 1 done. Ew. Jacket going on. sweet headwind, so I'm actually not going that quick, and I'm actually having to work to get down the climb. It's fucking freezing, it's super windy, so I'm doing 30 k's an hour down a 5% slope. This is what happens right before your power meter runs out of battery. 1052 watts that I'm holding, cruising at 29 k's an hour. So I just did that whole descent off coldest, fucking freezing, and now down in Robusta Fresa. I can't feel my thumbs. Luckily Ben gave me some windproof gloves earlier on. This is bordering on a bit crazy, but we crack on. Just about 100 k's to go now. 4.5 hours in, second climb of the day, just outside Ripoll. There's snow up on the hills behind me. Ripoll gets cold, but to have snow there, that says it's been really cold. Thankfully, for the first time today on my Wahoo, 1 degree. First time since I left the house this morning. So yeah, it's been pretty chilly the whole time. This climb is about 10 k's long. Just going over to Olot. Gonna get it done and keep going. Here's a little tip for you. Always carry a bag of Haribo in the bottom of your bag, so when you're properly cooked, you can just have a little stop. I am properly starting to feel it now. Not cooked, but I'm getting there. There's a beautiful dusting of snow, just caressing tops of the branches. All right, just coming up to the top of the second climb of the day, and then we drop down into Olot and into the last 60 k's or so. Nice. Woofed. Ah, well, that's not ideal. Just coming through Olot, 50 k's to go. All right. 6 hours in the bag, and I'm on the very home straight.
No te cobras el agua, ¿eh?
No?
No, no lo he visto.
Just a little get me home. 192 k's. almost there. I'm at kilometre 207. What a bloody day. As you can see, it's beginning to get dark. I kind of had the choice of leaving Andorra in the dark and getting back to Girona in the light, or leaving Andorra in the light and getting back to Girona in the dark. As you can see, I chose the latter. That's right, I've got my lights. Plus I got my sunny, so it can't be that dark yet.
Big day. Done. 221 kilometers for 2021. Hope you enjoyed that. I always do. That's a great ride. I've done it a few times in boiling hot conditions, pouring rain conditions, and today was the coldest I've ever done it, and potentially the coldest I've ever been at one point there, coming down Col de Tosses. So if you have any questions or you want to know more about the ride or the route, hit me on Strava, or you can leave a comment down below, and I'll get back to you guys. And that's just one of many adventures I hope to have for 2021, so stay tuned. If you enjoyed it, hit me with a like, hit me with a subscribe, and I'll see you next week. Ciao.